Welcome back, humans, to the Human Convergence, to this 7-part series where Alex and I take you to a journey of discovery as to who we are, why are we here, and where are we headed. It talks about this wonderful possible future where humanity joins the club of advanced civilizations in our galaxy and beyond. Previously on Human Convergence. We have 400 billion stars, many with perhaps civilizations. If we reach this advanced stage where AI can improve AI itself and start helping us with technology and everything else, then other planets should be going through that too, which have advanced technology.
Right. There's been, billions of years in the universe. Why hasn't this happened?
Yeah, 13.8 billion years. The typical star is actually much like a billion years older than ours. We are actually younger. So then on a planet like Earth, around a sun-like star, they have a 1 billion year head start over us. If so, technology should have gone really advanced, exponential, and at some point AI should take over and exponentially improve to some saturation, not infinity. If so, technology should have gone really advanced, exponential, and at some point AI should take over and exponentially improve to some saturation, not infinity.
Why do you say not infinity?
That's a very interesting problem because, speed of light, assuming that it's true, the idea there might be some headwinds that we don't know. Once you get more advanced, like you really just can't go to advance anymore because the brain just cannot be any faster.
Okay.
But say there's a limit, some sort of a very high level. The point that I noticed was that all of these planets with advanced civilizations will hit the same convergence, same point.
Okay.
And that is the meaning of the human convergence, that humanity is converging through this process.
Well, it feels like there's a merging there.
That's the crazy part, and that has to do with the 3 types of planets. Scott actually perhaps doesn't remember this, but this was 2006, so 18 years ago. And I told this theory to Scott, and he said, Gunjan, your idea sounds just like singularity. And I said, what is singularity? He was like, you don't know what singularity is? Oh my God, Ray Kurzweil, he came up with this. And he published around the same time. I hadn't seen his books. I hadn't seen it, thankfully. So I had something more to say about it because, once you see something, it's hard to sometimes think differently.
Right.
So he had noticed the same stuff through all these articles from Asimov and Carl Sagan and from other thinkers, Moore's Law. And he had come up with the same idea that once the AI gets advanced enough, AI can improve itself. Hence, you get this infinitely advanced thing very quickly because you can make millions of copies, billions of copies of that advanced brain, or it can make copies of itself and improve, leading to his conclusion was leading to infinitely advanced technology, kind of like a singularity at the center of a black hole. When a star collapses to infinite density, they say, actually don't know because the physics breaks down, you get a black hole with infinite density at the center, and that's a physical singularity that they talk about. So he came up with the idea of technological singularity, published a book. I think his book is called The Singularity is Near. I hadn't read that book, so I told him I hadn't. He said, your theory sounds like that, but except that his time frame is like 50 years. He was thinking 2050, something like that. And so mine was 1,000-year timeline.
Okay, much longer.
Right. So he said your timeline is different, and you talk about the whole galaxy except instead of one planet.
Because we're looking at life, not just on Earth, but life across.
Singularity will happen everywhere. So now you see the answer to the Fermi's paradox. Fermi's paradox means, Fermi came up with that, one of the physicists of the 20th century. It was like, if we can go from not being able to fly in early 20th century to actually landing humans on the moon in 1969, almost 60 years later, then at this rate, we should go through this exponential growth
Makes
that
sense.
we just talked about. So if we are going through that, then all that. So see, he had a little bit of this convergence idea too, Fermi's. So Fermi's paradox actually arises a little bit from this convergence, except the big difference between convergence and just different civilizations advancing is this infinite, like the saturation at the end.
Oh, okay.
And that's what is very interesting as to what's happening to us right now. Yeah, Fermi's paradox. So he said that if everybody goes through this exponential technological growth so fast, and if there are 400 billion stars, there should be millions of other alien planets that have gone through this and become super advanced with starship and colonizing expanding into the galaxy. And where are they? Where are the aliens?
Right.
That was Fermi's paradox. We haven't heard from them. We are not there. Well, some people think that they have, but I haven't seen any strong evidence yet. I'm sure some of our viewers will disagree.
Yeah.
But we haven't. And if you ask Elon Musk, he says the same thing. Is it possible that aliens have visited us? Is it possible that among some of those very blurry, you've seen those audios
of
videos,
UFO pictures
UFO pictures that have been released
classified.
recently? So Fermi was saying that given this exponential growth that we are witnessing here, he didn't think about the convergence or the singularity yet. But his basic question was, where are all the aliens? And I was saying that we haven't seen any evidence, despite some of our viewers probably disagreeing with that because of some of the stuff on History Channel, which is
of course,
pretty exaggerated.
That's some of the declassified stuff, right?
There's
Air
like
Force.
Eric von Däniken, I think that's the name of the guy. He has a book, German guy. He has a lot of imagination there.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like some of the stuff looks, humans see patterns everywhere, right?
We're wired to.
I'm saying it's possible that we already have footage of real UFO, but I'm saying there is not any significant evidence. So the question is, where are they, the aliens?
Right.
So one of the solution was through Drake equation. Drake equation explains and gives you an equation for estimating how many current civilizations are there.
Okay.
Based on certain filters or fractions. So, you lose certain, how many planets are there with life, how many of them actually have advanced life, what fraction actually has in developed civilizations, how long do civilizations last. But the point is, there's also something called a great filter. That means one of the terms in the Drake equation, which we, by the way, will put a link to Drake equation too for people who are interested. One of the terms could be very large. That means going from, say, complex life to sentience might be like 1 in a million, possibly, right? To sentience. Or another great filter might be, the one that we will talk about a lot, is that once you develop technology, every civilization destroys itself.
Oh, so there's not, the footprint might reduce, but there also might be inevitable self-destruction.
Right. And I think a lot of people will agree, given what's happening in the world right now, that that's a possibility.
Yeah. And sort of explanation for kind of where is everyone, it sounds like, is that
they're not there.
They're not there. Yeah.
Or they're there. The ones that survive go back into a more primitive stage.
Oh, that
it could be
makes sense.
even worse than that, where they go into a more primitive stage, kind of like Terminator. The robots are dead, primitive. Some humans are left. Go like so few people survive. When they build their whole history again, civilization again, they don't remember the lesson from the last time, which means they are given human nature. We might do the same thing over and over again. So when someone asked me the question, and I told them this, so do you think it has happened before?
Oh.
10,000 years ago. And the answer, in my opinion, is no, because we would have left enough evidence in the
fossil
rock cores, things like that.
Yeah. Even I think lead smelting, there's some things you can sort of see, kind of technological.
Like deposits.
Yeah.
Yep. But the question is, the great filter, which one is it? And so that's one explanation for Fermi's paradox. There is a second one, which is more like the Star Trek style, which says that the Federation is there. We are not just a member of it. We are not ready to join the Federation.
So intelligent life exists. They just don't want to talk to us.
They exist. They're all around, but they just don't want to reveal themselves.
Okay.
And my explanation for the convergence, a little bit different from the singularity, similar, independently discovered
Right.
with some extra stuff in it,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in more detail in the next part, gives an explanation as to why the aliens are not talking to us. Because think about it, Star Trek, the people in Star Trek, I think most viewers were probably familiar. If they're on this channel, they're probably familiar with Star Trek.
I imagine.
If you look at 24th century or 25th century or even 29th century, the new Star Trek is like 31st century. But even 1,000 years, the way they imagine us, they're not that advanced in terms of artificial intelligence or technology, material science, compared to what convergence and singularity hints as where we should be.
So it feels like it would be
1,000
sort
years.
of unrecognizable almost.
There might be
1,000
some
years.
technologies that might not be possible. Like, for example, faster than speed of light travel. We don't know.
Yeah.
Einstein says it's not possible. He has some exceptions for wormholes. Good topic to talk about in a future episode. But regardless of those very hypothetical exceptions for which we don't have any technology or we don't know how to develop a technology for that, for traveling through wormholes, you can't travel far or even warp. As far as we can tell, it's not possible right now.
Yeah.
Looks like. So let's say that that's actually true. But the point I'm trying to make is that everything else will keep advancing
That makes sense.
faster in the beginning. And we go through this convergence phase. And when you come out of it, you stop advancing because you hit some hard thresholds, just like the Moore's law. And if you look at all these alien planets, they will look the same.
Oh, because they're the fundamental laws that sort of govern that stopping of progression
It's the same.
is the same universally.
And even better, they will be billions of times more intelligence on those planets. Like, imagine AI that is far superior than human brain, hundreds of billions of copies of it or variations of it. What part of the intelligence or our brain will be outside our biological brains at that point?
I would imagine all of it. probably.
99.9999 whatever, right? So when you have most of the intelligence in artificial intelligence or augmentation of humans or whatever you might want to call it, assuming we survive, we have obviously augmented and learned to live with that AI. We have not fought with it. Otherwise, you get Terminator Judgment Day, right?
Yeah.
End of story.
Again, the sort of the where it's wiped out or
Right.
reset.
So if it's not wiped out or reset, then it's merged. Elon Musk is trying to build the neural link.
Oh yeah.
That's one way of doing that. Something to talk about. High input AI thing I've mentioned to you before. That's another whole episode to talk about that. That'll be fun. But the point is, if we haven't wiped ourselves out, then most of the intelligence of our civilization resides in the augmented AI or the synthetic AI,
Right.
not in the biological brain anymore. Or if it is in the biological brain, it is a synthetic biological brain. Like it might be organic based, but it's synthetic.
That makes sense.
It doesn't have to be inorganic.
Right.
I don't think
feels
it
like,
has to be silicon.
Yeah. Sort of biologically, we haven't grown a lot in 10,000 years. It's been technologically.
Exactly. In fact, human brains have gotten a little smaller.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Right. It's very interesting how we specialize, so we don't need certain parts of our brain, and we were hunters and gatherers, right? It doesn't mean we have become dumber. It just means that our brains don't need certain facets that our ancestors needed 100,000 years ago, right? You know, it might also be that some other parts of our brain have gotten bigger, like language, for example. The social and emotional parts of the brain might have gotten bigger.
Yeah.
But some parts, like, might have shrunk that we don't need, like smell. I'm sure that our smell might be weaker than our ancestors 100,000 years ago.
Maybe. Yeah, I know that there's
You know,
the kind of classic study about taxi drivers. Maybe it's different now, but that their parts of their brain were larger, they found.
Yeah.
Right, because they're mapping
go.
geographically.
Right. And the shrinkage may be temporary. That
Right.
means if you put us back in the right environment,
Right.
hunter-gatherers, we
Yeah.
might kind of make
shifts
it
back.
bigger too. You know about this stuff. You're a psychologist, right? How the brain relates to that. It's like it's plastic. So what fraction of the brain resides outside our biological brain on a civilization that is millions of times or billions of times more advanced because of the exponential saturation to convergence?
Right.
Could be 99.9999%, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
While still they have billions of people living on it, or alien people. It all resides outside. The point I'm trying to make here is that all those civilizations that have converged the synthetic part will look identical in terms of the degree of intelligence, reaching limits, the scale, and because it's synthetic, it is not tied by any biological limits that the original aliens might have evolved.
So even the planet that they're originally from almost doesn't matter because the end result would be the same.
Right. So, for example, on that planet, you could simulate intelligent beings to live inside this virtual environment or a real environment, or put your brain inside a synthetic body. And you could be in any environment at that point that you need to get copied over, right? For example, and you're no longer tied to your original body, and the environment that this synthetic brain exists in, natural brain connected to synthetic brains, this highly linked species exists in, could be not only virtual, but it could resemble any planet that they want. Because they're no longer tied to their physical body only. So they could be like flying in the atmosphere of Jupiter or flying in the atmosphere of Sun, and they will all be experiencing all possible experiences, extreme experiences, regardless of whether they grew up and what size their bodies were and things like that. Crazy, right?
Really, yeah. It's a lot to take in.
Do you see? Yeah, that's crazy. I was thinking about it's trippy. Huh?
Yeah.
I was visualizing that.
Yeah, wow.
So imagine if those aliens meet each other, they're going to have a lot easier time communicating with each other for two reasons. Not only is their technology and their scale looks very similar because of convergence, the diversity of experiences that they have is almost unlimited. So that would be converging too, because there's only so many types of planets that exist. Every star has gas giants almost that we know of. Every star looks the same almost. Really? For the same size.
Yeah.
Same mass and all that. And that's another topic. Planets can have diversity, deserts, more water, less water, rings, more gravity. But again, if you go to this extreme future, they would have not only explored other planets with different types of environments and life, but they can actually just live in them, simulate in them. I mean, think about it. You could just replicate a biological body of any type suitable for any, kind of like Avatar. Remember the Avatar movie?
Oh, yeah.
And just put your brain inside it and experience that. Be a whale, be an elephant. How about two brains living inside one elephant for a vacation? Husband and wife, I don't know. Somehow they might like each other to be that close.
Yeah.
Maybe an early marriage, early in the marriage, first year.
Couple thousand years.
Or maybe after 1,000 years. Used to each other. Crazy stuff, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that eye, people can guess now what that eye is. I hope you guys like this episode. We'll look forward to seeing you to the next episode next week. Beyond this mini-series, we're going to be bringing you many, many guests in 3 areas. In the area of AI, the area of space exploration, and in the area of your health and your future and longevity. If you're interested in any of these 3 areas, and if you want to learn what is going to happen in the near future, and if you want to come on this wonderful journey with me, please click and like and subscribe.